All right, I want to make this video on real estate because I got this comment on my video. I did this video about please do not waste your life in a 9 to 5, and someone said real estate is close to impossible to do right now. Maybe in 3 to 5 years when the market resets a bit. And I said that's actually not correct. I'll do a video saying why if you'd like. And so I'd like to do that video. I think that it does make sense to talk about this, right? So a lot of people think that real estate investing doesn't make sense right now. And the reason why is because prices are high and the interest rates are fairly high. Now, I'm making this video in December 2023. So we do have very high interest rates, all right? And the prices are still high. However, rents are high as well. But if you understand the math of real estate investing, you understand what we're trying to do with real estate investing, you'll see why this doesn't actually matter. So here's the deal, okay? With real estate, when you're investing, and when I talk about real estate investing, again, I'm not talking about the scammy kind of weird kind of stuff that almost everybody preaches on the internet. What I do is not sexy, all right? In business, it's not sexy. In real estate, it's not sexy, all right? I might be sexy, but the things I do are not sexy, okay? What I mean by this is that I literally just buy rental properties and I rent them out and I get a 30-year fixed loan. Now, if you're not in the US, you might be able to do a 30-year fixed loan, but I essentially get a fixed rate mortgage, right? For a long-term mortgage, not a variable rate mortgage, all right? And my strategy is leverage, okay? It is leverage over time, right? It's a leveraged appreciation. That's a strategy, right? Because there's 4 ways that you make money in real estate, all right? We'll go over these real quick, and I'll tell you about how this leverage appreciation works, all right? And why today it's still good, okay? And believe me, I'm not trying to sell you real estate right now. I don't need to sell you real estate. If you want to learn how to invest in real estate, I do have something that I can share with you. But let's talk about the 4 ways, okay? The first way that you make money in real estate, and this is kind of US centric, but a lot of these things apply everywhere, is through cash flow. Okay, this is the obvious thing. You rent out a property, okay, and you make some money in rent after the expenses. That's cash flow. All right. The second way you make money in real estate is through depreciation. All right. So what this means is it's a tax advantage, is that you have a property, okay, and you can take a portion of that property, let's say the structural value of that property, and you can depreciate it over 27 and a half years, meaning that you can take that value and you can divide it by 27.5 and you can show that as a loss on your tax return every year, even though you don't really have a loss. And so it can offset your income. So you're technically making money because you're paying less taxes, all right? The third way that you make money in real estate is through the appreciation of the property. Okay, specifically in this case, we're talking about leveraged appreciation. So what is appreciation? It means that the value of that property goes up over time. Okay, and so as that value goes up, you're making money. If you're leveraged, which we'll talk about in a minute, then it's multiplied. All right, and then the fourth way that you make money in real estate is through the pay down of the principal. All right, so all things being equal, you have a loan and that loan is being paid down. The principal on that loan is being paid down every single month. And that is like money in the bank. You're building up equity from that. So those are the 4 ways that you make money in real estate. Okay. So the most important way is through leverage appreciation. See, what most people think about is they think about cash flow, right? There's, who says it on the internet all the time? Grant Cardone is always talking about cash flow. Great guy. I've had the chance to talk to him a few times in the past, and when I've met up with him. But he's got his thing, and he's into the bigger deals and whatnot. But the thing is, it's not cash flow. It's not cash flow. Cash flow doesn't make sense. At least it doesn't make sense for most people, right? Because what does make sense is getting the leveraged appreciation, which is a lot more. So let me give you an example of this. All right. So a lot of people say, well, real estate's not that better of an investment than the stock market because I can get 7 or 8% return on the stock market. And yeah, I know some of you day traders can get more than that, but it's risky. All right. But let's say just, risk-free type of returns, or relatively risk-free. All right. And so a lot of people will say, well, if you have $100,000 house, okay, again, I know most houses aren't $100,000. We're just using even numbers here, but you can multiply it up. And let's say that, the cap rate on that house is, so basically the rents that it brings in is 7%, or, right now it might be like 6%. That's not good. That's not a good return. Plus, you have all the headache and all this stuff and expenses. So getting 6% return on your money is not very good at all. All right, I agree with you. Except you're just considering cash flow. Now, let's take that exact same scenario where you have $100,000 property, right? And so you're not going to put $100,000 down on it. You're not going to buy it cash. That would be a dumb choice because that's not what we're after. We're not after cash flow. If we were after cash flow, we would do that. We'd buy it cash. But instead, what we're after is appreciation, leverage. Okay, because leverage is how you make money. That is how you multiply your income. And so what we would do is we'd put, let's say, 10% down on that property. So we'd borrow $90,000 from the bank. We'd get a mortgage, a 30-year fixed mortgage. And yeah, interest rates are high right now. Okay, that's fine. All right. So what would happen is we get that mortgage, okay, and then let's say we rent out the property and we don't get any rents. In fact, we're going to be slightly negative on the rents, right? Today in this market, you might be negative 100 or 200 bucks a month on the rent. Okay, so you're not making money from rent, you're losing money from rent, but you're not losing a lot of money. All right, and that's the key. All right, and hopefully the principal that you're paying down on the loan will make up for that. All right, but what's going to happen is, let's say that property goes up 4% in value a year, which is a pretty conservative estimate. And if historically you can see the numbers where property values goes up, and they're guaranteed to go up over time because of inflation is guaranteed over time. And so even if property values just kept up with inflation, which is on average 2.5%, but now it's been a lot more. But we can whatever you can kind of do the math on it. But let's just assume 4%. All right, if that property goes up 4% in value in 1 year, what is your return? It's not 4%. If you bought it all cash, it would be 4%. But because you have a 10x lever, what do I mean by that? I mean that you only put down 10% and the bank put down 90%. So if we do the math on this, your $100,000, okay, property went up to $104,000, all right, and you put $10,000 in. So if you sold everything, you can forget about transaction costs right now because that is a variable in it. But over the length of time that you hold a property, that becomes a smaller part of it. But aside from transaction costs, you would have made a $4,000 profit on your $10,000. You'd have $14,000 at the end. That's 40% return on your money. Now, if you're doing this every single year and you're compounding and you're buying new properties and the old properties keep on compounding, can you see how you're going to become wealthy over time? And can you see how it really doesn't matter whether the interest rates right now are high or the property values are high right now or the prices are high? Because the goal is you're not trying to buy a property and flip it. You're not trying to buy a property under market value and then sell it later. You're not trying to get a property that produces a whole bunch of positive cash flow. I mean, the more positive cash flow, the better. The more cash flow, the better, right? Obviously, because it becomes a good investment. What you're trying to do is you're trying to buy a property, okay, where you put 10% down or maybe 20% down, and you're borrowing the money from the bank, and you're trying to get as close to break even as possible. And over time, as that property goes up, let's say that $100,000 property eventually becomes a $200,000 property. All right. And as long as you're close to breaking even on the cash flow, you're not losing money, which again, you have those other things, depreciation and principal pay down, that can offset that. So even if you are a little bit negative, then what's going to happen is that $10,000 or $20,000 investment you put in becomes $200,000. And on average, in order for a property to double in price, it takes on average around 10 years or so. It depends on the market, but that's on average. So in 10 years, you could take, let's say, $10,000 and make $190,000 profit or more than that. And if you're continually doing that, you're going to become wealthy. It is inevitable that you're going to become wealthy. And so it really doesn't matter what the market conditions are. Now, yeah, is it favorable if we have a lower interest rate and the prices on the properties are lower, but the rents are still up? Yeah, that's the most favorable condition. It's super easy to buy properties, except that there's going to be a lot of competition in that case. All right. But let's take today, right? Again, you say, if you say today, well, I should wait a few years. Look, okay, there's a couple of reasons why you shouldn't wait a few years. All right. The first one is this. Is that let's say if your argument is interest rates are too high right now, I'm going to wait for them to come down. Well, all right, fair, okay. So let's say that you get something at a high interest rate right now. What is it, like 7%? Let me see, 30-year fixed mortgage rates. Looks like Google is saying it's 77.9%, which is high. I mean, when I started investing 20 years ago, the rates were higher than this, but okay, 7.9 is high for what we've seen in a long time. That is, it's close 8% if you're buying an investment property, maybe a little bit more than that. All right, that sucks. Okay, it's gonna be high interest on that mortgage payment. It's going to be hard to cash flow on that property. You're probably not going to be able to find a cash flowing property, but Let's say, what are the scenarios? If it's high interest right now, if it's 8% now, well, most likely it's going to go down. You could wait for it to go down. Sure, you could. All right. But let me tell you what happens historically when interest rates go down. Okay. It makes people are dumb. All right. And you have to understand this. When interest rates go up in this market, for example, it should drive prices down, but it doesn't, because we have inflation and we have people who had lower interest rate loans, and they don't want to move up to higher interest rate loans. So they don't want to sell their house. So there's not a lot of availability. So prices are staying the same. Okay. But I will guarantee you, if interest rates go down, prices will jack up, because now it becomes more affordable. If interest rates go back down to 4 or 3%, what do you think is going to happen to the price of property? It's going to go way up. Think about it. Because now it's going to become a lot more affordable. And now all these people that weren't selling their properties will sell their properties. They're going to sell them for a lot of money because there's a pent up demand. Okay. So if interest rates go down, and if you're thinking that they're going to go down from here, then you should definitely buy a property now, because that means that you're going to automatically make a ton of money. And plus, guess what happens when interest rates go down? You refinance to the lower interest rate. So even if it goes down, take the high interest rate now. That's fine, as long as you can make it work. Even if you're losing a little bit of money every month, it's going to be worth it. I promise you. Okay. So now let's say that interest rates stay the same. Okay. Well, if interest rates stay the same, then you're just wasting time. And let's say that interest rates go up. If interest rates go up from now, you're going to be glad you locked into an interest rate now at this relatively low interest rate. So you're going to be waiting a really long time for them to go down. So those are the only three possible scenarios. Okay. And you might say, well, what, the prices are so high on properties. What if there's a housing market crash? Now that's possible. Okay. Like property prices could go down here. And if they do go down, what is going to happen? Well, what's going to happen is that if you buy property now, yes, you will take a paper loss for some time. But as long as the property is self-sustaining to a large degree, where you're not losing a lot of money every single month, and you've got those other ways that you're making money, then over time, that leverage appreciation is going to result in that, the property will recover in value and it will increase beyond what it is. Yeah, it does suck if you miss the timing on that, but I did this myself. Okay. In 2007, 2008, one of the big deals I did, one of the biggest deal I did at that point, okay, is I bought a fourplex for $425,000. All right. That was a big deal. As soon as I bought that thing, like 3 months, 6 months later, somewhere around there, that's when the big crash happened. And there were other fourplexes in that exact complex that were selling for $220,000. So my $425,000 investment just got marked down to $220,000. Okay. Now, did I panic? Did I freak out about this? No. Let me tell you why. I had a 30-year fixed mortgage. So the rents, guess what? The rents actually went up, but the rents could pay the mortgage on the property. So on paper, yes, I took a loss. And yes, it did set me back in some time, because it took time for the property prices to recover and to gain above where I bought it. But, that was what? It's like 15 years ago, something like that, right? 10 years would be 2018. Yeah, something around 15 years. Let's say, okay, 15, 16 years. All right. Guess what that property's worth now? Okay, let me just, I could look it up on Zillow for you, but it's worth about $1.2 million, I think. Let me see what the last time, I haven't looked this up in a while. Let me see. Okay. Yeah. Let's see what. A lot of these are for rent, but it's in a complex here. I can see what the kind of pricing was on these properties. I keep on showing rental properties, but let's just say, yeah, it was built in 2005. Okay. Price history. Okay, price history. This is just showing rents here, but where's like a one here? Bear with me for 1 minute. I mean, most of these things none of these are for sale. They're all for rent, because they've gone up so much in value. It's kind of crazy how much that they've gone up in value. Yeah, I can't find the actual estimate here. I don't know why Zillow makes it hard to see an estimate, but believe me, it's like 1.2, 1.3, might even be as high as $1.4 million now. Okay. And so that's going to happen. Right. And so But like I said, what about the scenario where the interest rates go down and the prices go up? Because you might think prices are high now, but they can still go up a lot. All right, we can't really predict the market. We don't know for sure. And if you wait until there's a crash, you might be waiting a long time, and you might be wasting a lot of time when you could be doing deals and you could be getting real estate and you could be getting them, at a much lower price than what they're gonna be before it. It could go up. Real estate could go up 20% before it crashes. I mean, eventually, yeah, there's always a crash in the market, but that's why it's just wrong thinking to think that now is a bad time to invest in real estate. And I can go into more detail on all this stuff. In fact, I cover all this stuff. I've got a program called The Well That Never Runs Dry. It's a financial freedom program. If you are interested in learning how to build a business, how to invest in real estate, how to become financially free, okay, I've got a link down below where you can DM me on Instagram, or you can just go to @BulldogMinds on Instagram if you don't want to go to the link, and just DM me the word freedom and mention this YouTube video, and you'll get on a call with someone who's on my team who is who can help me with this, because I'm focused on the teaching. I'm focused on teaching and running the program, and I do weekly group coaching calls with that program. There's a lot to it, but I go over all this stuff and I show you how to do this stuff. And this is something that I've been doing for a long time. I've been investing in real estate for 23 years. I became financially free at 33 years old. That was 10 years ago from doing this, and I have passive income that I'm generating every single month from real estate, and I'm not doing anything weird, okay? I'm just giving you the straight simple math on this. You're like, okay, why doesn't everyone do this if it's so simple and easy? Because the hard part is getting your first deal and figuring this stuff out. But once you do it, it does become easy, and it's not sexy. You're not going to make money fast, but you will make, if you can get 20, 30, 40% returns every single year on your money, that's insane. All right. It's still not going to be super fast. You're still not going to be like all of a sudden rich. But think about this, right? Every single person that is capable of doing it should be investing in real estate. It just makes a lot of sense to do this. And I know that not everyone could do it. And what if everyone did? That's not the scenario, guys. Okay, you can use those kind of excuses, and I hear them all the time. I know there's going to be comments on the video that says this, but the truth is that most people won't. But maybe you will, and if you do, you're going to benefit from this. And I have helped one of my high school buddies, when I first started investing in real estate, he contacted me, and he was like, oh, I'm looking at buying a deal. And now he owns like 8 properties, and he has all this passive income coming in. And it's like, and it took 15 years or so to get to that point, but it works. If you do it, it'll work. And I'd be happy to help you to do that. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about this as well, I'm not just trying to sell you my program. I offer that obviously, for coaching, and I am running a business, but I'm trying to be authentic with you with the marketing, right? No more the stupid marketing stuff. I hate that kind of stuff. But listen to me. If you have some questions about this, right? I don't care if you're in the program or not. Just put a comment down below on the video. If you want to email me, if you've got some questions, I can't always answer all the questions, but I can probably do some videos on it. And I'll try to explain these things and make these things simple for you so you can understand these things. But yeah, I'll see you tomorrow.